Hello, everyone. Dr. Victoria Scribo here, speaking to you from the Seeds of Transformation Healing Center, Wareham, Massachusetts. So it's time to wrap up the rest of the month. That's the month of March. We're going to look at the 4th and the 5th weeks of March. It is actually we're already into the 4th week of March. So I'm a little late on this, but I think it's definitely worth taking a look at. Okay, so let's get started. I'm going to share my screen with you. And here we go. Here we go. Here we go. Here we go. Boy, I tell you, it has been an intense month, has it not? Goodness gracious. All right, let's get started here. Okay, here we go. So we're looking at, as I said, the 4th and the 5th week of March. That's March 20th to March 31st. It's actually March 23rd today when I'm doing this. So it's gonna be a little bit of a review, certainly a review worth taking. So we start this week with Sunday, March 20th, 2022, which incidentally vibrates to a 2911 vibration. That is the vibration of light. The word light vibrates to 2911. This is the sun's ingress into Aries. This is the spring equinox in the northern hemisphere, the fall equinox in the southern hemisphere. This is the day when light and dark are equal. It is a point of balance. Of course, the sun moves into Aries, Aries being the start of the zodiacal year, and the Sabian symbol for Aries is a woman just risen from the sea, a seal embracing her. 0 degrees of Aries is what we call a world point. The world points are 0 degrees of the cardinal signs. That would be Aries, Aries or Cancer or Libra or Capricorn. And so it's always a big deal when anything goes over the world point. The sun, of course, does this in the case of Aries, once a year. But in the case of the cardinal cross, 4 times a year at the change of seasons. So the keynote here is emergence of new forms of the potentiality of consciousness. So there's always this energy of rebirth at this time. It's not unusual that Easter would be celebrated at this time. The return of the sun, the sun's light begins to grow here in the northern hemisphere. So every day gets lighter and lighter and lighter until we get to the next cardinal point, which is when the sun moves into Cancer, and then we start here in the northern hemisphere we start summer, and in the southern hemisphere we start winter. Whenever I look at anything moving into Aries, I always look to the ruler of Aries to see what other sort of flavor we're going to get. There's always a sort of energy of the rising of consciousness, something coming out of the great cosmic sea, all that energy in Pisces. Now, of course, we have been inundated with all this Piscean energy. We've had the sun in Pisces. Of course, we have Jupiter and Neptune in Pisces. And so there's a lot of this sort of Piscean energy. And now the sun comes up and rises up into manifested reality, manifested creation, Aries. Things are manifest, things are growing. In fact, the symbol of Aries, while it does look like the horns of a ram, it's also the primary leaves in a plant. Anybody who's a gardener knows that the first thing you see is this, right? The symbol of Aries. And you don't know what plant it is. You don't necessarily, unless you're a really good gardener, you know the difference between, say, like a basil and a sunflower, because sunflower is bigger, but for the most part, you can't tell what they all pretty much look the same. So it's that potential. It's that sort of akin to stem cells, right? The stem cells of something. We do have Mars at 11 degrees of Aquarius, and the Sabian symbol for that is during a silent hour, a man receives new inspiration, which may change his life. So this says to us that there is available to us new inspirations. Of course, we're all looking for new ways of moving forward because it's so obvious to all of us that the old ways no longer work, or no longer apply in a lot of cases. Excuse me. The keynote to this position of Mars is the need to rely upon inner inspiration and guidance at the start of new developments. And so as we emerge into this new energy, we need to stay connected to spirit. We need to stay connected to our spiritual selves. To that, we need to listen to that small, still voice within, right? And we can see here in this chart right next to it, we have, this is an Aries rising chart. So this is a chart looking at the archetypical energies available to us at this time. We have the sun in Aries here. We see it at 0, 0. There's Mars up here. Of course, Mars is in a conjunction. It just came off its second conjunction with Venus. It's approaching a conjunction to Saturn. We have the moon on this equinox almost exactly. It's just before it goes into Scorpio, which would make it an exact inconjunct. It's still an inconjunct, pretty damn exact, and that inconjunct is a waning inconjunct. The energy of the waning inconjunct is more scorpionic, and so it requires us to let go. And of course, we can see here with the South Node in Scorpio, we're doing a lot of letting go. We're also doing a lot of realization of the shadow. Saturn is square the nodes at this time. It won't be exact until I think the first week of April. But the resolution node, whenever a planet is square the nodes, there's this feeling of being stuck between the future and the past. It's like you want to move into the future, but there's still things in the past that you have to deal with. And in a way, the past can sometimes block you from moving into the future. So you need to deal with the issues of the past. And of course, the issues of the past are pretty obvious. Power over dynamic, the bullying. I can do it because I have the biggest stick or the biggest gun or the biggest rocket. And it doesn't matter who you are powerless to do anything against me. But however, we are not powerless. We are moving into the Aquarian age where we have to start coming together as humanity, as a symbol of humanity. And if we don't love ourselves, if we don't come to love and appreciate ourselves, we can't be expected to love and appreciate other people, because other people are simply a reflection of us. So at the bottom line here, the bottom line is love thyself, not in a selfish, egotistical, I'm going to get you kind of way, but in a sense of knowing that you are connected to source, that we're all connected, and that on every level we're in this together. And that's a very important realization as we progress into this year. We have a lot of it's been I know I say this all the time, it's been a crazy year. It's just been like this, it seems, quite frankly, ever since Pluto went into Capricorn. But I mean, if we want to start talking about it, when it really got intense was probably 2010, right? So we've been with this energy for a long time, and we are progressing into the next stage of our development as Pluto moves out of Capricorn eventually. This is the last year that Pluto is completely in Capricorn. Next year it goes in and out doing Capricorn and Aquarius, and then I think it's 2024 when it actually goes into Aquarius, stays there, and will be there for 20 years. And Pluto is our evolution, and so we are moving through Capricorn, and all the structures that Capricorn represents are being tested. And then we go into Aquarius, and that will be tested. So we have quite an exciting future ahead for us, I think. All right, let's take a look at Monday, March 21st. Mercury conjuncts Jupiter at 19 degrees of Pisces. This is the start of the synodic cycle with the mind and the expansion of ideas. So Mercury rules the logical brain. Jupiter rules the more creative brain, the right brain, the left brain, right? Jupiter, right brain, Mercury, left brain, they're together. They're together in the sign of Pisces. Now, Jupiter is very happy in Pisces. Jupiter was the ruling planet of Pisces for many, many, many centuries, right? Until Neptune was discovered, became the modern ruler, but it still applies as the classical ruler. And some astrologers only go by the classical rulers. They don't look to the transpersonal planets necessarily. So, but we do know that Jupiter is very comfortable in Pisces. And so in a way, Jupiter is a little bit more powerful in Pisces than Mercury is as we come to this conjunction. This is the start of a year-long cycle, and it is the expansion of our ideas. 19 degrees of Pisces is a very interesting saving symbol, a master instructing his disciple. The transfer of power and knowledge which keeps the original spiritual and creative impulse of the cycle active and undeviated investiture. And so this can be sort of a seeding of the original impulse. Now, if you are stuck in the old paradigm, you will be getting your instruction through the energy of the old paradigm. And then you will continue it. If you are open to the new paradigm, if you're open to your own spiritual inner self, right? That which is connected to all things, that's when this can really create some magic, and we can really sort of shift the paradigm, as it were, into one that is more focused on living and thriving and loving and healing. And so it's up to us what we, the universe, the energies, the planetary energies don't have an opinion about this. It offers us an energy, and we take that energy and we have free will to do what we want with it. If we choose to go in the direction of the light or the enlightenment, that's what we get. If we go in the direction of keeping things hidden and dark and unseen, or not understanding what drives you, then you allow those subconscious and often wounded parts of ourselves to drive the conversation. So as always, it's a choice here, right? It's a choice, but it is a time of the energy or the knowledge or the wisdom coming in and informing us of how best to spread our ideas. So what is your idea? Where do you want to put your focus? Do you want to put your focus on more weapons and more weapons of war? Do you want to put your focus on feeding people? Do you want, like, so you get to decide where you want your focus to be. If we allowed ourselves to follow our heart, if we allowed ourselves to be true to our true nature, which is generally one of cooperation, getting along and figuring out how we can better things together. I know that sounds antithetical to what we're seeing out there, but what we're seeing out there is it's a deviation. It's a deviation, and it's a line of thinking and a line of being that will only bring us death and more and destruction, as opposed to what can bring us life. Now, there is a certain amount of things that have to go by the wayside before we can move into that new life. Again, we see Saturn square the nodes still. Of course, that's not going to change because it's there, and it's there for quite a while, actually. And so we will continuously be going back to the past, reviewing the shadows that we face, and then coming into a better understanding of what it is that we truly need in our lives, and moving in the direction of peace and security and stability, which is Taurus. On Tuesday, the 22nd, we have Mars making a last quarter square to Uranus. This just actually happened yesterday. It occurs at 13 degrees of Aquarius, Scorpio. Mars in Aquarius, of course, That shouldn't say Aquarius, Scorpio. It should say Aquarius, Taurus. Aquarius, Taurus. So, and I have it right down here, so that's all that matters. So the interesting thing about this is the vibration of this day. When we add March 22nd, 2022, we get a 31.4 vibration on the tree of life that is located in the Sephiroth Gabura. Gabura is associated with Mars. It is associated with Mars. So this is a very powerful time. The thing about Gabura is what we put out, we get back. It is the place of instant karma. So if you take an action towards better understanding, if you take an action in removing those things in your life that get in the way of your ability to connect and be at peace and find the oneness and find the love and find the joy, you're in good stead. But you can also do things that are negative. The thing is, in this vibration, is that it'll come right back at you, because this is the place of instant karma. But it's very interesting that it is associated with a Sephiroth that's associated with Mars, located energetically in the throat chakra, the place where we step aside, our personal will steps aside and allows the will of spirit, and we become conduits and instruments of spirit. Make me a channel of your peace. Where there is hatred, let me bring your love. Where there is injury, pardon, Lord. And when there's doubt, true faith in you. That. I love that song. So the on March 19th, incidentally, which was last week, right? We actually had this, which was a 28.1 vibration, when Venus and Uranus were squaring each other, right? Remember, Mars and Venus are moving together. So first Venus took the lead after she conjoined Mars at that first degree of Aquarius. She started moving at her regular speed. Mars was moving at his speed, so she moved ahead. She had the first last quarter square to Uranus. Uranus was in Taurus, Venus was in Aquarius, mutual reception. That vibrational day was associated with the Sephiroth, associated with Uranus. Now on this, the 22nd, we move into a vibration that's associated with the Sephiroth of Mars. So this Mars-Venus path that we have been going through, along with its interactions with Pluto and its interactions with Uranus and its interactions with Neptune, it's as if Venus and Mars, the two planets that help us relate to one another, have gone through the gauntlet of the transpersonal planets, requiring us on a certain level to act in a more collective way. What's better for the collective? What's better for the collective? And now we stand on the precipice of there is a war. There's a war in Ukraine, right? No matter what Putin says it is, it's a war in Ukraine. And Ukraine and the Soviet Union and Russia are the breadbasket of Europe. So we are looking at if this continues, we're not just looking at war, but we're looking at food insecurity and famine. So, it's that dire, quite frankly. The thing is, we can stop it. The thing is, we can stop it. We just have to figure out the best way to do it. And so those people who are attempting to reorient this whole situation and stop it and focus it in a different way need our light. They need our light. Okay, so the 13, Mars is at 13 of Aquarius. A barometer is the Sabian symbol, the ability to discover basic natural facts, allow us to plan in advance for action. In a square, last quarter crisis and consciousness square, this is the revolutionary square, right? 13 degrees of Taurus, a porter carrying heavy baggage, the self-mobilization for social advantage. And a lot of this has to do with, if you want to advance in society, you often you're taking a lot of baggage with you. You're taking a lot of baggage. And so the question is, who says you need all this stuff? Who says you need all this baggage, right? It's time to let go of that stuff so that you can move more freely, that you can move in the direction that you wish to. And on a certain level, you know, if our needs are met, right? If our needs are met, if we have food and shelter and security and those things, we don't need much else than that. Not really. Everything else that they say we need is really an illusion, because everything we need is within inside of ourselves, and we can have almost anything if we cooperate with each other. Because I'll tell you something, I've painted my house, and I know this is going to sound like it doesn't make any sense, but I painted my house. Michael and I painted the house, the outside, big house, you know, not huge, but big enough, on ladders, on the roof. And it took a long time. By the time we were done, it started to peel again. That's the nature of painting your house, I was told, and didn't believe until I was finished and noticed that things started to peel. But it would have been easier if there was a village to help me. So you can get what you want with cooperation. And you know, community really is the wave of the future. And on a certain level, we have to sort of change the whole dynamic of the way that we utilize goods and have goods and services and all of that stuff. That's all being reworked and refigured, of course, because Uranus is in Taurus. So money changes, and the structure of those things changes, and they have to progress because Uranus is a progressive energy. It's like, this doesn't work anymore, so what does work, and let's utilize that. So there's a lot of that going on at the same time, where that's why it's so disrupted. I mean, people are just like, people don't know what to do, really. They're just like, right? So you have to calm yourself down. You have to sort of recenter yourself and see what you can do with the people in your life and the connections that you make. And that's going to require us to talk to one another. That's going to require us to agree to disagree. That's going to require us to be able to listen to one another and help, because everybody wants to help. Nobody really is watching what's going on in the Ukraine or in Yemen and say, yeah, those people deserve to be bombed, those peasants and children. Nobody's saying that. And yet it's happening. And we're like, hey, stop it. Nobody's listening. Well, enough of us get together. They're going to start to listen, folks. They're going to start to listen. Wednesday, the 23rd, which just happens to be today, we have Mercury conjunct Neptune at 23 degrees of Pisces. This is the synodic cycle between Mercury and Pisces. Now, Mercury and Neptune. Now, Neptune can be imagination, so this is a highly imaginative time, but it can also be delusion. So we have to be very careful with Neptune. In fact, if we leave spirit in charge, allow spirit to give us the information, to be open to the promptings of spirit, I think we're better off if we keep ourselves out of it, in a way. Because once we insert ourselves into what we think spirit is saying, when it becomes an ego thing, that's when we run into trouble. And what Neptune will do to the ego, it will trick it. And eventually you have to give up. So you might as well go in at the beginning with the idea that I'm not necessarily in charge here. And it's not anything outside of yourself that is, because God is not outside of you, but God is within, and a connection to the God within, to our own spiritual self. And when we connect with that God within, it isn't a God of vengeance. It isn't a God who wants all the land and all the money. It is our divine connection, our soulmate, right? Our twin flame. Where's our twin flame? There's part of us that is incarnate in this world, and there's a part of us that's not. And it's that relationship. That's what that's what the sixth vibration is in the universal year, the Gemini vibration. It reminds us that there's a human part and a divine part. Many of the mythologies of the brothers, one was divine and one was mortal, right? There's a lot of that. So we need to make better choices, quite frankly, with that. So this particular 23 degrees of Pisces, we have a materializing meeting, giving a seance, the ability to give one's own vital energy to substantiate one's conscious ideals or conscious desires. This is about kind of really putting where your money, where your mouth is, but definitely working on. So Jane Rudger continues here, the person who believes he or she has a mission or mandate or any specific gift that can be of value to his community must substantiate this belief. He has to produce results. Sometimes this involves difficulties and special conditions or circumstances. It always demands, to some extent, the gift of some power of value, which is deeply one's own. So this is about what is most important to you and how are you going to shine that? And what is most important to you? And how can you best get it? I always say go back to the center, go back to the core, go back to where the real power lies. The real power lies within us, within our heart. That is the engine. It's not the brain. The brain is just a receiving thing that gets information from our higher vibrational self. But the heart is where we work. The heart is where the work is done. And that's where we need to come from, that place. On Saturday, the 26th, we have Mercury making a sextile to Pluto. Now, this sextile is a waxing sextile. That means that it's happening, this 60-degree aspect, which is very mentally stimulating. It's a 60-degree aspect, mentally stimulating, is the beginning of the synodic cycle. We had the conjunction of Pluto and Mercury already, and now we're 60 degrees away from that. Now, the interesting thing about the conjunction between Mercury and Pluto was that there were 3 of them, and that's because Mercury was retrograde. This does happen when Mercury is retrograde. And so we had the first one on December 30th at 26 degrees of Capricorn, the second one on January 28th at 27 degrees of Capricorn. That's when Mercury was retrograde. And then the third one was on February 11th of 2022 at 28 degrees of Capricorn, incidentally conjunct the United States Pluto, right? This was happening around that first hit of the Pluto return for the United States. The vibrations here, on the 30th of December, we had a 4711 vibration, 7 of Cups. That's located in Netzach. Netzach energetically is located in the solar plexus. The second one on January 28th, that occurred at 27 degrees of Capricorn, is a 35-8 vibration. That's located in Yesod, the foundation. This is about boundaries. This is will, this is self-worth, this is self-esteem, this is Venus. This is the Sephiroth of Venus. This is the Sephiroth of the moon here. Venus, moon, both feminine archetypes, right? The 2 feminine planets, Venus and the moon. And then on February 3rd, we had a 19-1 vibration, and that's actually right here between Hod, which is also located in the solar plexus, and Yesod. It is the path that connects Hod and Yesod. So all of these conjunctions of Pluto and Mercury are all activating either the solar plexus via the numbers being in the Sephiroth associated with the solar plexus, or along a path which connects it to, which connects the soul together. So this is solar plexus and sacral plexus, sacral chakra. Those are the 2 chakras getting activated with this Pluto Mercury conjunction. And that is how we navigate the physical world. So we have to be in this world. We can't just sort of float around and say, oh, I'm in the oneness of all things, and not do something that makes a difference on the physical plane, the physical world. So whatever you're doing has to count here in density. It has to count in density. The waxing sextile speaks of intense curiosity. to get to the bottom of things. It stimulates communication and a depth of thinking. So it's important at this time that we communicate. It's important that we talk to each other. It doesn't matter that we don't agree. We have to talk, we have to listen. And it's interesting because Volodymyr Zelensky keeps saying, we have to talk, we have to talk, we have to talk, we have to talk. He knows it. He knows we have to talk. He has Pluto in Libra. Libra is about communicating. Libra is about talking. It's about listening. It's about sitting down across from somebody and saying, what do you need? What do I need? Let's come to a compromise, a co-promise, to agree. Not to agree to disagree, but to agree on something. We all have to make sacrifices. We're not going to get everything we want, nor maybe should we get everything we want. But we definitely need to get something that's going to bring peace and harmony to our lives. We can see it in the outer world. We can feel it in the inner world. We can see it in worldly events. We could probably see it in our home as well. Week 5, we move into week 5. We look at Sunday, March 27th, 36.9 vibration. This is when Mercury goes into Aries. We can see it right here, Mercury moving into Aries. Of course, we always look at what Mars is doing when anything goes into Aries. So first, let's look at 1 degree of Aries, a woman just risen from the sea. A seal is embracing her, emergence of new forms of the potentiality of consciousness. Remember, the sun moved into this degree. We saw this. Mars was in a particular degree in Aquarius. Now that Mercury, the planet of communication, moves out of Pisces into Aries, it much prefers being in Aries than it prefers being in Pisces, because in Aries it has direction. Mercury has direction in Aries. And we have Mars, the ruler of Aries, at 16 degrees of Aquarius, a big businessman at his desk. The ability to organize the main aspects of an enterprise involving a large group of human beings. And so what this requires us to do is, this is saying, organize your thoughts, organize things, figure out how you're going to work together to make something better. That's really what this is asking us to do. And we certainly need it. We certainly need it at this time. Monday, March 28th, we have Venus make its conjunction to Saturn. Now remember, Venus had 3 conjunctions to Pluto, a conjunction to Mars, a sextile to Neptune, another conjunction to Mars, a conjunction of Pluto, with 3 conjunctions to Pluto, right? And now it's making a conjunction, and it had that square to Uranus, and now it's making the conjunction to Saturn. This starts the synodic cycle. Venus is our values, it's our relationship, it's what's important to us. It's in Aquarius. Humanity is important to us, right? Fairness is important to us, liberty, democracy, all those Aquarian ideals, the idea that each individual person has the right for happiness. That is a revolutionary idea. And even though, you know, the United States has been around for 240 something years, and, you know, democracy was born in the 1700s, we're still fighting the battle. And we're still working with this energy of the sort of top down energy with the energy of the collective people working together. The thing is that back in the 1700s, there was this explosion of democracy. And once we discovered Pluto, things started to sort of come in. That's when Pluto in the 1930s, we found Pluto, and it started to bring the hammer down, so to speak, in an attempt to control. And who controls the money, who controls the resources, who controls everything? The oligarchs, right? So really what this is happening, it's the downfall to a certain extent of the oligarchs, and the rise of us coming together as humanity to say, no, you cannot have everything. Enough is enough. You need to distribute these resources more equally. And that's really the future. The future is a progressive one. And so when you decide, like when you lose hope, know that the future is a progressive future if we want to have a future. And so if that's not enough to get you to move in that direction, I don't know what would be. But don't let them kid you. Don't let them kid you. The future is a progressive one. The future is one where male and female are equal, where it doesn't matter the color of your skin, and where you have an opportunity, you have an equal opportunity to learn and explore the world that you want. Not everybody wants to be a surgeon. Not everybody wants to be president. Not every, some people just want to be on their little patch of land and farm it, and that's fine. But let them be on the land to farm it. Don't keep hammering them just because you can. Venus conjunct Saturn, 22 degrees of Aquarius, the start of the synodic cycle between Venus, the planet of values and relationship, to Saturn, the planet of reality and manifestation. How do we manifest our values? Aquarius, especially, how do we manifest our humanitarian values, right? 22 degrees of Aquarius, a rug is placed on the floor of a nursery to allow children to play in comfort and warmth. Isn't that a lovely vision? While children in Yemen are starving to death, and children in the Ukraine are being used as cannon fodder. What is wrong with this picture, people? What are we doing, or what are we not doing? The warmth of understanding which comes to those who in early life are open to new possibilities. We must be open to the possibility of a new and different way. Through a warm appreciation of basic opportunities and even small comforts, we can safely and happily grow into personal maturity. We don't need a lot. We don't need a lot, but we do need peace, and we do need opportunity. And when we can give that peace and opportunity to more and more people, we'll have more peace and more opportunity, because what it is that you foster is what grows. All right, guys, so let me stop the share now. All right, so it's, what a month, huh? What a freaking month. So keep your eyes peeled for the tarot scopes will be coming soon for April. You can check those out. I'm going to be doing a new moon shadow with Ona for the new moon in Aries, right? And that occurs on April. Is it the 1st? I think it's the 1st. The 1st of April. And I have a new class, how I approach a natal chart, how I read a chart. That's starting this Monday, the 28th of this coming Monday, the 28th of March. It's a 6-week class, consecutive Mondays to the 2nd of May. It's from 7 to 9 p.m. Eastern, but if you can't attend the class, it does get recorded, and you can have the recordings of the class. So even if that's not a good time, or even if you're far away and not able to join us because, I don't know, maybe you're in New Zealand or Australia, I will send the recordings and the notes. So thank you for joining me. Thank you for being here. I feel like we've really created a nice community here. I'm very grateful to all of you. I'm grateful to the other readers out there. And keep shining your light, guys. It's working. It's working. I know sometimes it doesn't feel like it's working, but it is. It is. Much love, everyone. Namaste. From my heart to yours. Take care.